There are two major choices of software to use when developing for Android. We've got Android Developer Tools and Android Studio. Let's talk about Android Developer Tools first. Now this is the one that's been around for years. It's literally been the choice ever since Android literally got released back in 2009 when the first version came out. And it's a plugin that works over the top of the Eclipse Java IDE interactive development environment, which has itself been out for many years. Now I was using Eclipse in 2001 when it became free open source software, and before that it was developed by IBM and sort of cost many thousands of dollars. So there's been a lot of investment made over the years in Eclipse, and as I said, until recently this has been the de facto tool, the tool of choice for Android developers. It's fairly stable and it still supports the current software development kits, including Android 5. There was a problem recently, early December 2014, and there was a version there for a while that didn't work, and I talked about that a lot in the course. What I had to do was create a few new videos and show people workarounds for the fact that it was broken. Google have, for the most part, fixed this again, and it's still a tool that you can use, but as we're going to talk about shortly, it's not recommended for new projects. Android Studio, on the other hand, is being actively developed by Google. The original version, they started work on it, and it was released, the first beta version, in May 2013. Now, after 2 years of beta, it finally launched to an official release, and it's highly recommended by myself and also by Google that you use this for all new Android projects going forward. It's based on a company called JetBrains IntelliJ IDEA software, which in itself is a fantastic interactive development environment for Java developers. So you can go off and buy that separately if you're a Java developer, or you can use Android Studio, which has bundled it. Google have obviously done a deal with the company, JetBrains, and it's free and embedded and sort of built into Android Studio. So let's talk about a few pros and cons of both. Android Developer Tools is an industry standard, as I talked about. It's widely used. There is a huge number of tutorials, projects, and jobs, frankly, available if you know it well. So it's now out of date and no longer supported, but it's still my firm recommendation that you learn at least the basics with it, because there are still a lot of people and companies using it. Android Developer Tools wasn't written especially for Android development. As I mentioned before, it's based on the Eclipse interactive development environment, and it's sort of a plugin that sort of plugs in over the top of Eclipse so that you can do Android-specific development. Android Developer Tools, I mentioned before, are no longer being actively developed and enhanced. And actually what Google are doing is really trying to stop people from using it. When the first official version of Android Studio came out, the 1.0 release, Google actually pulled the Android Developer Tools off their website. You can only download the plugin now. You can't download the complete pack, which made it a lot easier to install. But again, with that said, there is a ton of tutorials, code, and development studios still using Android Developer Tools and Eclipse, so it's very valuable for you to learn those basic skills. Android Studio, on the other hand, is specifically designed for Android development. So sort of day one, that's where the focus was, and it's actively improved and upgraded by Google. They are releasing new versions regularly. As I mentioned, they had a beta testing program that went for 2 years, and even since the 1.0 release, there's been versions that have come out since then addressing key bugs and so forth. I really do like this software and think it's a fantastic bit of software that Google have put together. Certainly recommend that you look at using it, and of course with the IntelliJ functionality alone, making it, in my opinion, very much worthwhile to be using. So with all that said, what do you choose? Do you choose the old but aging workhorse, that's the Android Developer Tools, or do you use a new and funky but not fully complete Android Studio? Because even though it's a 1.0 release, there are still bugs there. And there are some things that Android Developer Tools, in my opinion, do quite well compared to Android Studio. So which one do we choose? In this course, you're actually going to learn both. We're going to start off with Android Developer Tools. You'll learn how to set up and install it. Plus, we're going to develop 5 key Android apps using the Android Developer Tools. But later, we're going to move over completely to Android Studio, and the remaining 9 apps that we're going to create in this course, we're going to be doing that exclusively in Android Studio. We're going to be taking advantage of its capabilities one of the cool features is which you can do is import projects created with Android developer tools. Bottom line, learn both. This is my highest recommendation. Don't sort of think you should just go straight to Android Studio or not learn it. You really need to learn both, in my opinion, to maximize your skills as an Android developer. So the benefit to you is you're going to have skills with both environments, which is a massive bonus to show on your resume, and it makes you more marketable because you've got more sort of skills that you can bring to the table straight away knowing both environments. So don't skip this. This is my highest recommendation. Be sure to use the Android developer tools initially throughout the first 5 apps that we create with that platform to learn the basics of Eclipse, the Android developer tools, in other words. Right now, the vast majority of Android app development is probably still being done with Android developer tools, even though Android Studio has been released. Slowly over time, companies will start transitioning, particularly large companies. They've got an investment in their infrastructure and they don't make quick changes. So you can be sure that there's going to be lots of companies still using Android developer tools well into the future. So the fact that you've got both skill sets for both platforms is really going to look fantastic on your resume and really make you more marketable. And finally, as mentioned, in the later part of the course, after we've completed the first 5 apps, which we're doing in Android Developer Tools, the remaining 9 apps in the course are going to be done exclusively with Android Studio. So you're really going to be getting the best of both worlds. You're going to be learning this new and exciting product, but you'll also have that background, that knowledge that you need to make yourself more marketable knowing both. All right, let's move on to the next video.